So y'all give it up a show love for Yunetta Spring.
Sir.
All right, good morning.
Good morning.
Speak loud into that mic. There you go. Hey, listen, so licensed professional counselor, Yunetta Spring, we want to welcome you back to the show. The last time you was on, you helped us deal with the grief so many of us experienced after the passing of Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter, Gianna, and 7 other victims. So therapy is so important. And when it comes to dealing with trauma and loss, we plan to make it a big part of our show. So today is our Talk It Out Tuesday, and Yunetta's going to help us. So if you have something that you want to add, did you see the service yesterday?
Yeah, absolutely.
How did you feel about it, and what kind of emotions that it triggered for you?
Well, for me, it kind of brought everything back from the accident.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people that I want to get it all out of the way so we can kind of move. And
Right.
the Gigi portion of everything.
That play basketball.
And play basketball. Oh, my goodness. So just kind of having to relive that again, it made me just relive the whole situation all over again. So to me, I mean, from the emotional part, I was like, wow, it just seemed like it just happened again. So,
So why are black people so opposed to therapy?
Well, there are multiple reasons. I think primarily why most of us Black folks are opposed to therapy is just because of how we were raised. Culturally, we're kind of taught, what happens in this house stays in this house.
Right.
We're taught that, to go to God for our problems or to push through, to be strong. Culturally, that's just the way we're brought up, So going to an outside person for help or talking to somebody else about our problems and being vulnerable is just not something that we're just naturally subscribed to do.
Right. So why is it so important to find somebody to talk to?
It's so important to find somebody to talk to because, our brain is, like a part of our body. If we needed to go to the doctor for something, we would go to the doctor. If we had a heart issue, we would go to a heart doctor. I said this before. So when it comes to matters of the mind, oftentimes we feel like we can figure it out on our own, or we can just push through or get past it. So it's so important to talk to somebody because there are so many therapists out there. We're skilled, we're trained, we go to school to help you navigate pain, to help you navigate grief, to help you navigate tragedy. And there's a way for our minds to heal, and sometimes we can do it in the, outside of therapy, but oftentimes therapy is very helpful to help our minds actually heal.
Right.
there's a theory that if you have counseling, that you're crazy.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to tell people that it's okay?
I personally think the best way to tell people it's okay is to communicate and share your personal stories. The more we get out there and we talk about us being in counseling or how counseling has been beneficial to us, how it's been beneficial to our loved ones, the more we talk about it, the more we can break the stigma surrounding counseling.
Yeah, Eva, you want to jump in?
Yeah, when it comes to children and counseling, I think a lot of times we think counseling is something that you need as an adult. But when it comes to kids deal with trauma and they carry that on. So can you speak to the necessity of counseling for younger people?
Yes, absolutely. It's so important. It's important for all of us, especially for younger kids, because we have to realize like their brains are still developing. So oftentimes the way, like either the negative beliefs or the things that they experience, if it goes unprocessed, their brains develop around that belief. So it's so important, even, for kids that may be experiencing grief, for them to have an outlet as well.
And what would some signs be? Like as a parent, I have 3 kids and, we just try to do the best that we can do and life happens. So what would be some signs that would tell me like, maybe you should, put Marley in counseling or something like that?
Well, I think it's about just listening to your child. How are they communicating? Are you noticing any differences like in their behavior? Are you noticing that they're, becoming really anxious or they're avoiding or they're super clingy to you, things like that. Or if you know that they have experienced something, even if you don't see any visible symptoms, if you've just experienced a loss, it doesn't hurt to get them somewhere where they can talk to somebody and they can explain grief to them. So
Right. So we got Counselor Yunetta Spring on with us this morning. So if you're going through something and you need to talk to us, it's Talk It Out Tuesday. Call us at 866-9-RICKY, 866-9-RICK. What is that? So you think Kobe Bryant's memorial, was that a trigger for a lot of people? Because a lot of people, dad got killed. A lot of people have lost a child, like Vanessa. So Kobe was somebody's son. He was somebody's brother. He was somebody's dad. Gigi, she was somebody's daughter, somebody's sister. And a lot of people have had their own personal losses. And the question becomes, because watching that memorial yesterday, the human side of you woke up this morning like feeling some kind of way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You understand? And thank God they didn't have the bodies there. I'm glad that they did it the way they did it, because it actually gave me an idea. Go ahead and have me a little private burial with just my kids and my mom or whatever, and then have a celebration a month later. Give everybody a chance to calm down and trying to heal, because a death is one thing, and then a funeral 6 days later is like the person died all over again, and it's trauma twice. You know what I'm saying? And I love the idea of spreading it out like that, because there's just a lot. So let's go to the phone, 866-9-RICKEY. Good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, you on with Yunetta Spring. Go ahead. What's your name and where you from?
Oh, I'm Elena. I'm from Miami.
Okay, go ahead.
I really need your help. I'm so conflicted because, so years ago, I was pregnant and my husband cheated on me. And he keeps saying, like, get over it, but I just can't get over it. I feel like when he's at work, he could be with somebody, because I remember, when I was in my 20s and I would be, messing around with guys at work. Like, things happen. You go to lunch with somebody, you hear about, like, the work wife and all of that. And I stayed with him.
Right.
Even after,
right.
after knowing that he cheated.
So what's your question for her this morning?
Well, I've talked to him about, maybe we should go to therapy together, but he just doesn't want to go. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, sorry to hear that you dealt with all that. That's definitely tough, definitely a hard situation to be in. And it sounds like you really love your husband and you're want to work on the relationship. It's very difficult if you have, you want to do couples therapy and the other party is not interested or not open to it. That is hard. I would say, have you thought about having therapy yourself, perhaps, just to kind of work through some of the things you've experienced? I think that could be helpful.
Man, we got Yunetta Spring that's on with us. Anybody needs to reach you, how can they find you?
You can find me on springforthcounseling.org.
Right.
The website, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, Springforth Counseling.
There it is. All right, we got somebody on the phone. Good morning.
All right. So my daughter's mother passed away about 2 weeks after my daughter's birthday, about 5 months ago. So we're really dealing with a lot of triggers here and there with my daughter and myself. We weren't together when she passed, but she passed of an overdose, and I think from what my daughter told us, she may have seen it, her falling out in the kitchen and actually passing away. So, what are some things that maybe we could do to help her, myself, just get through all of this? And she's only 7.
Oh, that's awful. So sorry to hear that. So first and foremost, I may continue to say this, but definitely seeking therapy, having conversations with your daughter about how she feels about it, really checking in with her to see how she's doing. Something like that can be considered, a trauma, just depending on how she received it. So definitely getting her someone to talk to, whether it be a therapist or a school counselor or, just to see how she's doing.
Right. So I was just sitting here having a conversation about, like, black people just our existence is trauma. Because you deal with your own, because hurt people. So when you're dealing with whether it's family members, whether it's frat brothers or whatever, you just go through stuff with our own people. Then on the other side, you got a president out here promoting racism. So you just don't know how to be and how to exist, and you just getting drama from everywhere. And it is. People think that is everyday life, and people just kind of go on about their day. But all of this stuff is, and you're dealing with death in the family, and you're dealing with sickness, and you're dealing with your kids and all this stuff. Everybody can't handle all of that stuff,
right?
And so why is when people think that some of the stuff that we go through is normal, it's really trauma.
Right.
And why therapy is so important.
Right. Because I'm glad you said that, because oftentimes when you dealt with so much, you can consider it to be normal. Like just because you're getting up, just because you're still going to work, just because all your bills are paid, then it's like, well, we're doing okay. But you haven't processed that stuff. And that's why therapy is important, because sometimes in therapy, that's the first time you realize what you dealt with was trauma. A lot of us don't even know, some of the things that we've experienced is trauma or it's traumatic, So therapy kind of gives you that outlet. It helps you identify your feelings. It helps you understand what's going on within your body, just on a day-to-day basis.
Right. So how does that help, though?
It helps because you're more aware. Right.
And let me answer that question. I know I'm not the therapist, but when I did go to therapy, after I got in trouble, it helps because you internalize everything and everything builds up. And at some point, you have to release that stuff, because if you don't, it will come out at the wrong time and you will end up in trouble or possibly in prison like I did. Like I dealt with the death of my 2 grandmothers. All kinds of stuff was going on. My mom was sick and just, just life's issues. And before I knew it, I ended up in prison because I had never talked to anybody, because like you said, it's not cool to go tell people your problems, what happened in this house, stay in this house, and it just builds up and internalizes, and at you reach a boiling point, and it comes out at the wrong place at the wrong time, unfortunately.
And we don't get to determine when that happens.
We have a message that came into the Rickey Smiley Morning Show DM. It says, "Dear Rickey, between the ages of 9 and 12, I was physically and sexually abused by my mom's boyfriend, who later became her husband. I didn't tell my mom until after they divorced. By that time, I was 40. My mom and I were never close. She put her man before me, and part of me believes that she knew what he did all along, and I blame her for not protecting me. I now have trust issues, and the abuse affects me in romantic relationships. How do I deal with the hurt and the shame?" It's Claire from Philadelphia.
I'm going to keep saying it, going to therapy and really talking about that shame is not necessarily, it's understandable that you have it, but it's not yours. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's shame that you experience because of what you experience. So just having that platform and having that place to talk to somebody about how you feel, because a lot of times when it's family relationships like that, like, you can't talk to your mom about what you've dealt with and what you've experienced. And if you felt like she knew about it, your mom is like, if you can't trust your mom, like, who can you trust? Right. So being able to go to somebody and talk to them and process through that trauma, because trauma does impact your relationships. It impacts how you view the world, how you view people, how you view yourself. Right. And if you don't have a way to get that out and a way to understand what's going on with you and what you experience, most of the time that cycle will continue.
Right. So let everybody know how can you be reached.
So I can be reached on springforthcounseling.org, and you can follow me on Facebook and Instagram, Spring Forth Counseling.
There it is, y'all. All right, Gary got a tea and a clue today. Coming up next. What you got, Gary?
Coming up next, y'all, Beyonce, the performance, and people are talking about her.
All that up next. Rickey Smiley Morning Show, 6 minutes after the hour. All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Hey, we got the one and only Bishop Joseph Walker, senior pastor of Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church, our presiding bishop of Full Gospel, here to give us his comments on grief, who have suffered losses himself, and anybody that's grief-stricken out there. So that's why we have all of these wonderful guests on for you today. Bishop, good morning.
Good morning, Rickey. Good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm blessed this morning. I know you got a good word this morning.
Man, I am, man. Like so many everybody else who watched the memorial service, man, I heard Jeff and what a powerful word that was, man. I think that what Rickey's I think what you're doing, Ricky, is incredible. And I love Kobe, man, and his life. It's impactful. And I think that what's important now for all of us is to understand, everybody's dealing with pain. And it doesn't matter what economic state you're in. It doesn't matter, what you've accomplished in life. Pain is an equal opportunity employer. And the fact is that there's some moments you realize that God gives us the grace to handle certain moments. Like for Vanessa to stand up there and to do what she did it with a grace that was superhuman. And the fact is that we cannot lose sight of the fact that even in our own pain, the power of community. Never let yourself, and I've been through this moment, that when you're hurting and you're dealing with something like that, never allow yourself to be in isolation. Because when you're in isolation, that's when the devil comes in and he causes interrogation. And you got to understand the power of community and how powerful it was to see so many put their arms around Vanessa and that family, and always understand you can't get through things by yourself. And it's also important to understand perspective. Kobe's life itself was far beyond the basketball court. And it teaches us about what it really means to be a human being, to live a life of significance, to mean more than just awards on the court, to mean more than just awards in Hollywood, but to understand that this was a real man who was a champion for his wife, for his children. And I think there's that moment in all of our lives where we really, really have to come to a place where we begin to say, God, thank you for the things that money cannot buy. There's that moment, man. You're not blessed until you can add up the things in your life that money cannot buy. This is that moment when you pull your family in, you start squashing all of the beef, and you start saying, what really matters now is us being family. What matters now is us being friends. What matters now is us living a life that is far beyond just being successful, but being significant. I want to say to everybody, what is your purpose, man? When you wake up every single day, you don't wake up just to exist, to inhale and exhale. You wake up with a purpose on your life. You wake up to do something that is sustainable. What Kobe's best friend said is that, man, his last text to him was being a blessing to that young girl, man, trying to get her connected to that agent. Man, that blessed me, because that means that your purpose should always be giving back and blessing somebody else. It's never about just making a name for yourself. If God can't get a blessing through you, he'll stop sending blessings to you. What makes Kobe's legacy so powerful is that Kobe consistently was a channel of blessings and not a reservoir of selfishness. That's what I hope everybody takes away. I hope you realize today, do something that blesses somebody's life. And hey, we ain't lost Kobe. We know where Kobe is, because when you lose something, you don't know where it is. We know Kobe is with the Lord. And every single day, ask yourself, if this is the last day God gave me, what will I leave on record that people can say I was more than successful, but that I was significant?
Wow. Bishop Joseph Walker, let everybody know how you could be reached.
Thank you, Ricky. Reach me on Instagram at Joseph Walker 3. Love to connect with you. Thank you, man. Let's continue to pray for everybody, man.